Recognizes a gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Bacon, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today as a proud American. In 1776, our founding fathers proposed e pluribus unum, out of many, we are one, for the first great seal of our country. It can be found in our currency, on buildings, and in the seal of the U.S. House of Representatives. Sadly, this fundamental value is rarely seen in today's day and age. But I am proud because I have come across an American faith-based organization that should serve as an example to all of us and this principle of e pluribus unum. I'm referring to the Civic Association. Recently, though they are of a completely different faith, and though this is really outside the purview of what they normally do, Civic has dedicated itself to saving the people from Afghanistan. The Civic Association is a Jewish national nonprofit that advocates for criminal justice reform, religious liberty, and fights for humanitarian cases throughout the globe. Civic championed the First Step Act as well as other common sense criminal justice reforms. In fact, the president and founder of Civic, Rabbi Moshe Margaretin, was honored by former President Trump and the First Lady with the lighting of the menorah at the White House Hanukkah party in recognition of Civic's contribution to prison reform. After the Taliban took over Kabul, it came to Civic's attention that the last remaining Jew of Afghanistan was in danger of being killed. They were requested to utilize their political connections to save his life. One thing led to another, and this led to Civic coordinating the escape of dozens and dozens of Afghans. Let me stress the novelty of this. An Orthodox Jewish organization led by Orthodox rabbis is working day and night to save the lives of Muslims, Christians, and people of other faiths, and many women and children, because they clearly live by the value, out of many, we are one. Civic has thus far coordinated the rescue of female judges, orphans, translators, and other individuals who helped the United States and the UK in this war on terror. They also saved the lives of female soccer players who are at risk of being killed by the Taliban simply because they've chosen to play this global sport. They recently led an effort to save 2 pregnant women who are high-risk targets, one of whom gave birth to a healthy baby girl just 3 days after being rescued. And yes, they also saved the last remaining Afghanistan Jew, Zebulun Samatov. But along with him, they rescued 30 other people, religious minorities, who are at risk of persecution just because of their faith. To accomplish all this, Civic has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, all of which have come from the Jewish community. It is awe-inspiring and a lesson to us in Washington, that to all of those across the world, that we must come together more often for the greater good. Despite our differences, we must unite as creations of an almighty God and do what we can together to make this world a better place. Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize Boy Scout Troop 60 of Papillion, Nebraska, for their efforts to partner with the city of Papillion to preserve the community's historic 100-year Boy Scout cabin. Originally formed in 1913 as Troop 1, they began building the log cabin in 1921 under the leadership of Scoutmaster Reverend Johansson to be used as the troop's headquarters. In June 1922, the Papillion community dedicated the Scout cabin and has been in continuous use ever since. The cabin is an iconic local landmark in Papillion City Park, celebrating pride in both scouting and the community. It is believed that the Scout cabin could be one of the oldest Scout cabins in continuous use west of the Mississippi. Troop 60 recently finished renovation of the historic cabin, preserving it for another 100 years and for generations to come. This restoration was part of Papillion 150 celebration. Papillion 150 was a community movement that recognizes the city of Papillion's 150th anniversary, having grown from an 1870s railroad town that was on the mainland of the Union Pacific Railroad to now being one of the fastest growing cities in Nebraska. I also recognize the troop's longtime sponsor, the Harry Bossert American Legion Post 32, my post, who has mentored Troop 60 to be the shining example of positive impacts of scouting. Throughout Troop 60's history, it is estimated that over 200 individuals have attained the rank of Eagle Scout, and many of those have gone on to become leaders throughout our community of Papillion, the state of Nebraska, in the military, and even the House of Congress with their own Chief of Staff, Mark Dreiling. I salute Troop 60 of Papillion, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Garcia, for 5 minutes.